Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Talking NorCal podcast, the official podcast of Active NorCal. I am your host, Zach O'Brien. With me here, as always, it's Bigfoot Bob. How you doing, Bob?
Bigfoot Bob, I like that. I'm excited to talk about Bigfoot a little bit.
I always come
upcoming later, but yeah.
I always come up with a new nickname for Bob, and I'll be honest, I didn't think of one until last minute. And
I'll be Bigfoot Bob this week.
It's alliteration, so I thought that worked out fine.
I think that you did well.
So we have a fun episode of the Talking NorCal podcast today. We have Brandon Beck with us. He is a badass skier, cliff jumper. He's got some great stories, including we believe he is the first person to perform a flip jumping off of Burney Falls, which is just an outrageous story. So stay tuned for that. As always, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch this full episode on YouTube if you're not already. Talking NorCal, search it. You'll find it, as well as our clips on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow us everywhere, Talking NorCal. Before we begin, we also want to talk about some of the swag we have in our store, in our lives and in our store. That's right, we have t-shirts, sweatshirts, and hats and stickers to get you looking stylish on your next Northern California adventure. Get 10% off your first order in our store by using the promo code NorCal at checkout. Go to store.activenorcal.com, use the code NorCal, get 10% off. We also have this great water bottle, the Nero Flask. The Nero Flask water bottle uses its patented filter to remove 99.9% of known toxins in water to make sure you never run out of aqua in the great outdoors. We're currently offering it, get this, $10 off. That's not 10% off. That's $10 off. It usually goes for $29.99. It now goes for $19.99. You get that using the code, you guessed it, NorCal. Go to activenorcal.com/NeroFlask. Code NorCal. Get $10 off this awesome water bottle. I take it everywhere I go with me. I'm actually thirsty right now. I got to take a drink.
Of course you're thirsty.
So go activenorcal.com/NeroFlask. Code NorCal. Seriously, great product. Use it in the outdoors. Go buy it today. Okay, let's get into this episode with the Tahoes. Hella NorCal.
NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and I could spend all day just chilling in the South Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and Darren knows how to do to kick it down in Santa Cruz. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little cray-cray when we visit the East Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal.
I got some great energy today. I'm excited to do this. I don't have an opening subject because we have a lot of news this week, actually. Well, I guess we could start. This is our last episode in our studio, in the cave. Yeah. So this cave was built in COVID, in quarantine. This is my rather large basement, and we stylized it all with our cameras and this fake brick wallpaper.
Fun fact for you: this is not real brick.
And so I'm actually moving. I'm moving home. So we got this new studio in Midtown that we're going to start shooting. I don't think it'll be ready next week. Hopefully it'll be ready the week after that. So we're going to do this on Zoom next week. But I'm excited. What do you want most out of our next studio?
That's a good question.
I'm putting you on the spot.
I don't really know. I mean, I don't know, just more comfortable chairs, maybe? I mean...
Oh, I already taken care of.
A little bit more space.
Yeah, I don't know if that will be
obviously
the case.
A turnkey operation. So every time I come to your house, I set up all the equipment, and it's like you have to set it up and take it down every time. When we have this permanent studio, it's going to be a little bit more permanent to where we can just leave the stuff where it is, turn it off, and as long as we charge the batteries, we're good to go.
Duly noted. Turnkey operation. I fully agree with you. I'm excited. It'll get... Well, for one, the COVID thing, it'll get us the hell out of the house. So that's,
I'm out of the house. I'm at your house.
You come here, but I walk downstairs, and I've actually been working from this studio this entire year. So I'm excited to get back into the office and start making some fun content in our new office/studio. So that'll be fun. So that's I just made that up on the spot, our opening. So let's just hop right into the topics. We got some cool news stories this week. What do we got?
NorCal news of the week. We got the first story of the day. This is a big one. Lodi Skydive Center ordered to pay $40 million following fatal incident.
Is this the final straw, the final blow for the Lodi Skydiving Center, the embattled Skydiving Center, which has seen 21 deaths since it opened, or since 1981, I believe. And so this is actually an old fatality. It was August of 2016. An 18-year-old was there Tyler Turner was there for a birthday party, and his chute didn't open. He was on a tandem jump, just like I did there. I jumped a tandem jump on my 18th birthday there with our father, and it was awesome. But this place has seen a lot of accidents, a lot of fatalities in recent years, and it turns out the tandem jumper, the instructor, a couple things happened in this lawsuit. One, it turns out he didn't have his proper certification to be tandem jumping with paying customers. Also, it was Tyler Turner's mother, Francine, who said the instructors basically told him they didn't need to watch the video. So it was very, relaxed there. And when that happens and someone dies, someone has to pay.
Liable.
Right?
Yeah, it's liability. Now, I, as you mentioned, you went skydiving on your 18th birthday with our father. It's kind of something that we did, starting with me. My dad took me on my 18th birthday to go skydiving in Paradise, and it was great. I will say that I had a bit of a similar situation in that the whole safety video was definitely like, well, you don't really need to, but we're supposed to show it to you. And so when I saw in the article that said, well, you don't got to really finish it, I had the same kind of vibe when I went, but I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I do think that these guys skydive so often that they're like, just let us worry about the safety stuff. And that probably shouldn't necessarily be the case. It's always safety first, but yeah, I mean, this is a sad story. And the fact that, you see $40 million lawsuit, you think, these people are just trying to make some money off of this terrible situation. But I think really what they're trying to do is they're trying to force the owner to sell this business. He has not been making good decisions over the years. And so they really want to make it. And so he is forced to either shut down or sell to more responsible owners. And so, it's a good story in that they're trying to make good things happen, but obviously it's a sad story nonetheless.
They specifically put the owner's name in the lawsuit, and this is a quote from the Turner family attorney. "We are hoping this will allow us to get this place closed or be sold to a responsible owner who can operate it safely." It has seen, I said 21 deaths, it's seen 17 deaths since 2000. And 5 skydivers who got certified and learned to skydive at the school there have died in the past 3 years.
And that's that was kind of, it's not funny to me, but it says they learned how to skydive there. It's like, well, maybe they didn't because they all died. So how much did they really learn? So
you made a good point about the video. I think that was just a tactic from the lawyer to prove that they were liable, that they were negligent. But when you tandem skydive, you don't really do anything.
You're not pulling the cord,
right. And so even if he watched the video, I don't think there was anything he could have done, when the chute didn't open.
Clearly, the business just had bad policies, and they just
correct.
I mean, in the article on Active NorCal, you can see another incident where their plane had to crash land in a local field with 17 people on board, and clearly not. I mean, thankfully everybody got out of that crash alive, but there were 17 people plus the pilot on that, and they crash landed.
I don't know if I've discussed, and the plane crash is a totally different subject,
but it just shows the lack of overall, kind of professionalism.
Yes, when I swear there was duct tape on the plane when I took off, and it certainly forces you out of that airplane at 13,000 feet. I'll tell you that much. I don't want to land in that damn thing, right? But this place, and my wife and I, we drive down south to visit friends, and we pass it all the time. And they just have so many incidents in its building, and it's getting worse, and it's getting worse. And I don't know what pays us $40 million. Obviously, the owner they're making the owner liable in this case, but I doubt he has $40 million. So what happens to this place? And I really would hate to see it go, because skydiving's pretty cool, and there is an inherent risk at skydiving. That's why it's cool. That's why people, it's a big deal to do it. But it does need to be operated better, and I do want to see this place stay open, just with a different owner.
Totally agree.
So, we'll keep our eye on this. Like I said, this is something we both did in like these little rinky-dink operations. But obviously a terribly tragic story, and deaths have happened since this kid's death in 2016. So we'll keep an eye on it, but is this the final blow?
Yeah, obviously a sad story, but rest in peace, Tyler.
Rest in peace, Tyler.
Okay, let's get to the next story. A little bit more of a positive vibe one. Anderson Valley unveils 30-acre outdoor utopia dubbed Beer Park. This place looks incredible.
Our boys over at AVBC, Kevin McGee over there, we had him on the podcast. Great guy. He's been doing some really good stuff since he bought this brewery in
December 2019.
You just had that on. Okay, good for you. So I've actually spent a lot of time at this brewery because it's right next to the Boonville Beer Festival, which I've been to like 12 times. So I've explored it. I've actually camped on this 30-acre park before. It is gorgeous. It's got like those Mendocino vibes, super green, lush fields, and since poor Kevin bought the place, and then we went into COVID,
right.
And I think he's done some really good jobs selling his beer outside of the tap room, but he bought a place, and then the tap room has been closed ever since. So he's coming up with a way not only for people to social distance while they drink the beer there, but he's creating a destination for people to come visit with their dogs. They have disc golf. They have all sorts of outdoor enjoyable stuff, and I think they're gonna have different events there. So, and not only that, the marketing of this Beer Park and the graphic looked like Jurassic Park was brilliant. I think
it looks awesome. It looks just like so much fun. Now, one thing that they're not open yet. Is that accurate? It's still
correct.
Waiting COVID rules being a little bit more relaxed, right?
Correct.
Yeah. But it looks awesome. Yeah, the image is incredible. We're clearly going to have to go there.
Oh, I already talked to them. I already talked to them. We already got the invite.
Bring my camera.
So you just let me know. So this is what they have. So they renovated their entire tap room over 2020. Kudos for them. Way to take advantage of the downtime. The beer park will have a lounge lawn with 9,000 square feet of beer lounging with Wi-Fi access, bocce ball courts, cornhole, 50 colorful Adirondack chairs. My wife loves those. There's beer carts and tap stations, picnic areas.
I like that. So beer carts move around the property.
Yeah.
That's what I thought was really awesome, is they have these carts so you don't have to just go back to the tap room when you're out there playing your 18 holes of disc golf. They're coming around with carts. That's awesome.
It's like a golf course.
I didn't want you to breeze past that one without acknowledging it.
They have a culinary garden, which I don't know what that means, but it's a food court of some sort.
Well, it's where they're growing local. They're growing their own ingredients, and then those ingredients go into the food, and so it's even more local food, and it's lower cost.
I read that wrong. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
An outdoor stage for live music, brewery tours and tastings, and just overall, an overall badass. So kudos to them. They are making this a destination. It sounds like a blast. We'll probably have to go there and do a video, but I've been saying this for all of COVID. This is forcing these businesses to use their imagination, and this might be the best case I've seen so far.
Well, and you alluded to this, that this is going to now become a venue. Like, there's an actual performance stage where there's going to be probably local bands. I just can't wait to see what's going to come. It's 30 acres. That's huge. Yeah. So, this is just... I don't know. It's kind of like a summer camp for adults, kind of, it feels like. You would go to the Boonville Beer Festival every year. That was here, right? So would you, sleep on this property?
No, so it's maybe a quarter mile down the road is the fairgrounds where the beer festival is. That being said, I had friends who worked for Sierra Nevada, And if you're a brewer, you would camp on this property. So like the people who buy the regular tickets camp in the fairgrounds, and the brewers get free camping on this property. So I've actually spent a lot of time on this property. I've also played that disc golf course a couple times.
How'd you shoot?
Probably not good. I don't know. I don't play disc golf. I was just, my buddy, we woke up like the morning before the beer festival, and he's like, hey, let's play. I'm like, all right, what else am I going to do?
That was back when you still referred to it as frolfing.
Frolfing.
Yep.
Yeah, I still do. But it is a really cool, place. And what's too bad is it's sort of off the beaten path a little bit. I mean, Boonville is certainly not centrally located, but
you gotta, and I think that's probably what the idea was behind this. You got to get people to kind of drive, make the brewery a destination that you will travel to, not just as good for the local community.
Yeah, and I don't know what the hotel situation is there as it relates to COVID, but they have some really cool hotels there. And there's great camping spots. It's right next to the coast, so there's great places to camp nearby, so you can go have a couple beers, sober driver back to the campsite. I'm really excited that, like I said, I talked to them. They sent out an invite to me. I threw in are you guys going to try to do the beer festival this year? I got a no comment on that.
I'm sure they would love to if they actually.
I even said, this is off the record. I'm just curious. Are you in the no comment?
As he just is putting it on the record.
No. I think they don't know.
I'm going to ask you this question off the record, but I am going to talk about what you say on my podcast, which is very much public record.
Well, I was very personally curious because I want to go. I've always wanted to shoot a video there. And because I've been going forever, I know that beer festival inside and out. I love that place. But, and so I just wanted to plan, like, okay, could I plan some content around which month? And I think that meant they're not sure yet.
Right.
It's a town of like 1,000 people, and they have 10 to 20,000 people come for the beer festival. That's a very big problem in COVID. So I get it, but this is going to be great. Beer Park. It doesn't say when it exactly opens.
I think it's to be determined. We still have to wait for the COVID restrictions to ease.
But this is a summer destination for sure. Right. I think. Yeah.
But it's starting to get springtime. It's what is it? 61 degrees and sunny here today. I mean, it's feeling like spring.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Let's go.
I'm ready to go. I'll social distance anywhere. It's beautiful out. I am so antsy to get the hell out of the house and start doing fun stuff. I mean, I just don't want to get comfortable in the house, which I've done, which I've learned to live.
It's been a year. I'm comfortable as hell in the house.
I've learned to live this way, but I'm just excited to get back and see friends and get out into the NorCal area a little bit more. So
very much excited about visiting Beer Park.
Beer Park. That's right.
Okay, next story. I believe we've talked about this one before. I could be wrong. I know that you and I have had the conversation, but this is kind of a continued story. Abalone fishing banned in Northern California until 2020, and it's really it's already been banned. They've just extended how long that ban on on fishing abalone is going to end.
Correct. So we have talked about it before because they banned it in a couple of years ago, 2017 maybe, and then they furthered that ban a little bit. Basically, here's what's happening, and don't quote me on this. I don't think it's ever coming back.
That I don't agree with.
All the studies show that the kelp forest along the Northern California coast is 90% decimated, and the reason why we're not, recreationally fishing for abalone is because of the kelp forest. So I don't see, is the kelp forest coming back? From everything that I've researched, it is not.
Well, to take it one step further, it's really about the warming of the oceans.
Right.
It's about the temperature of the ocean and how the warming even 1 degree temperature increase is going to dramatically change the habitat for the wildlife in the area. So I'm more hesitant to say that they'll never be fishable again, but I do think that there's going to need to be some substantial things that change. Now, another kind of other than the warming of the oceans is there's the sea urchins are kind of like taken over, which is crazy to me because sea urchins, I mean, going in culinary school, sea urchins are like a delicacy. And you wouldn't think that knowing how many sea urchins, they're like taking over. They're like weeds of the ocean and they kill other species. They don't make it, but so it's like, let's eat more of them, but it's literally they're popping up like weeds. It's just really weird to me. I don't know why. I think that this whole sea urchin takeover thing is a little bit weird, but abalone is also known as it's a delicacy.
It's good.
You've had abalone?
I absolutely have. My friends from the North Coast, when I lived in Chico, would bring a bunch back every single year.
I've had abalone once. It was at a really, really nice restaurant in Sacramento called Juniper and Ivy, and I thought it was really weird. It was a very weird texture.
Yeah.
The chef that was the chef of that restaurant is known as being kind of a very weird, out there kind of chef. So, but that's why he had it on the menu. He wanted to be nobody has abalone on the menu. This was years ago, so don't like at him.
It's a big thing up in like Humboldt and Mendocino County.
Right. But it's known as a bit of an acquired taste. It's not like something that like is like bacon that everybody thinks is delicious, either smelling or tasting. But yeah, I don't want to put the nail in the coffin and say it'll never happen again. But the thing is that from man's perspective, how do you cool off an ocean?
We don't.
We literally can't do it.
Yeah.
But you know. They have found ways of getting the Great Barrier Reef to start to kind of come back to life, and so that's why I don't want to say, never say never, because hopefully we can figure out a way to make this habitat a little bit eased for both the sea urchin and the kelp. I just don't want to put the nail in the coffin.
You might be right. There is a warming of the ocean, but a lot of this particular problem happened due to El Nino from 2014 to 2016. So we might still be seeing that distinct problem, even though there is a larger issue with the oceans warming. El Nino might have been what's pushing it to the brink. And if we don't have any more El Ninos, then maybe it will, come back to life. Maybe those kelp forests will come back to life. But
those kelp forests are also incredibly important to the environment because they produce so much oxygen because being underwater, the water magnifies the sunlight onto these plants. Those plants are absorbing that sunlight and really through photosynthesis converting it into oxygen, and it's really, really good for the environment. So while they're trees underwater, like the amount of oxygen, good thing for the environment that they produce are magnified because of the water. And so it's really healthy for everybody if those kelp, I mean, other than maybe the sea urchin, but the kelp is a huge thing as well. Global warming, we've said it once, we both agree is a thing. And so it's all about trying to figure out how we can do things. Man is the problem, but we're trying to figure out how man can kind of change things.
Yeah.
Flip it upside
down. What's crazy about this is how big abalone were. I mean, there were so many of them. They used to have an abalone festival up, I forget if it were Crescent City or up in the Humboldt Del Norte area.
It's because it's not just the meat, it's also the shells. The shells are
Correct.
really beautiful. And
yeah, so they were aplenty, these abalone. Totally. And so now that they don't have anything to eat, they're dying off, and now we can't eat them because they don't have, it's the food chain 101. So this is big news, and this is news that needs to be spread because you will get arrested if you go out there abalone fishing. But we have 5 more years of the closure. Kind of sucks.
All right, next story. Short film celebrates the world's highest elevation composting toilet atop Mount Shasta.
Did you watch the film?
I didn't. It's 9 minutes long. I thought it was longer. That's why I didn't. But
I gave you this topic like late last night, so I didn't expect you to be able to watch it. But it's called Way to Go, and it was filmed by. There were some people in the area that helped them film, but it was a director out of Southern Oregon, and basically if you didn't know, and I think a lot of people didn't know this, that there is a toilet sitting at around 8,000 feet that is fully compostable. And you probably know the science of this compost stuff better than I do. I don't, maybe not.
Sure.
I don't know. Well, anyway. It's fully compostable, and they have this huge group of volunteers that takes care of it year in and year out. And it's great for all the hikers up there. You know, it's next to one of the camps where you would camp overnight before you would climb to the top. This film, which, like you said, it's 9 minutes. It's super quick and really interesting. It was the winner of the Best Southern Short Film Award at the 2020 Klamath Independent Film Festival. And it's just a really cool story. It's fully solar powered, and they explain how it's actually kind of gross. They explain how it composts over the years, and by the time they pull the poop, I got a message that we talked about poop too much on the last podcast.
I agree.
But they pull, the excrement out of the bottom, and it's dirt. It's composted, so it's 5 years of composting, and it basically turns into dirt. So it's a fascinating story, and it's really cool that it is the highest elevation composting toilet in the world.
Yeah, one of the things that the big reason for this is that as outdoors people, we have this philosophy of, leave no trace, leave the place cleaner than, you arrived. And one of the hardest things with that is people having to go to the bathroom. It's something that happens to every single person that climbs Mount Shasta. There's really not, it takes too much time to do it to not have to go to the bathroom one way or another. So I love the idea. I don't understand. So I understand composting as, like in culinary school, so there's a lot of food waste in the world when you're.
That's why I thought you knew about it.
But so there's difference. So when in culinary school, let's say you're cutting an onion. When you cut an onion to use to cook, there's a lot of scraps. Those scraps have carbon in them. They have things that can be contributed back to the environment. And so instead of throwing them away, if you put all of that food waste and all of that compostable material together, it's a very healthy environment for other living things. So like, that's why you see manure sprayed on fields, because there's a lot of nutrients in that's really good for the ground. And it's the same here. I don't know how it's done with excrement, whatever the hell you want to call it. But,
we don't want to say poop anymore.
And honestly, when I saw that it was solar, that really was something that really, like, what is that? So there's you need power. I don't know.
Yeah,
it shows. I bet you if I watched the 9-minute movie,
if you watch the 9-minute movie, and by the way, go on our website and watch it. It's you can also look it up on Vimeo. It's called Way to Go, from K Rose Productions, and you can watch it. It's a super quick watch, and it's got great views of Mount Shasta and a lot of cool stories of people climbing Mount Shasta. But it breaks down how the excrement breaks down, and it turns into dirt. And so basically I don't know what they do with it afterwards, but it shows you, they'll pull it after 5 years of composting, they'll pull it out of the toilet, and it's like 70 pounds of quote unquote composted excrement, and they ski it all the way down the mountain, and then I'm not sure exactly where they put it.
I'm sure it goes to a local farm where they use it and spread it out and use it as fertilizer or what have you. I'm sure they're not throwing it away, because that's literally why you do that, is so you don't have any more waste.
My question is that it claims, it sort of claims to be the highest elevation composting toilet in the world. Do you believe that?
I don't know why not.
7,900 feet.
Here's the deal, Zach. I do not think about how high a shitter is on a mountain. I've never thought about it before. You just asked that question. So,
maybe if you watch the video, you would.
In real time, sure. Probably that. I mean, it's on Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta is a 14,000 foot mountain. Where is this one? 7,000 foot, I think. They said that this...
The toilet?
Yeah.
79. 8,000.
79, yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. Name another one.
I don't know. Like Nepal or something might have one. I don't know.
Random.
Yeah, but I was thinking about that. I'm like, 7,900 feet in the grand scheme of the world is not that high, but nonetheless,
it is. Mile High is like the highest city in America, right? Mile High,
which is 7,000, right?
I think it's 5,000 or something like that.
Yeah. You are. Yeah, you're right. But I think what this movie really comes down to is the local volunteers who maintain it and who care so much about the mountain and leave no trace policies and the environment surrounding Mount Shasta that they put many, many hours every single year dealing with poop. So people excrement, so people don't, have to deal with it in another way. So it's a cool story in that way. I think it's like retired people who go up and work on it and everything. No one gets paid, So I did like it. It's a cool little short film. If you have 10 minutes, seriously, go watch it. It's fascinating.
And we are going to make sure that next week's podcast episode has no poop-related topics whatsoever. So
poop-free podcast next week.
That are offended
That's a guarantee.
Okay. This next story is a really fun one. We all love Sasquatch, right? Sasquatch is a local legend in Northern California. Well, Hulu's releasing a true crime documentary series, I believe. Is it just one? I thought it was a series.
It's a
documentary
docuseries.
series about Bigfoot in Northern California. And my favorite part about it airs on 420.
I am so excited about this. I cannot explain how excited I am. So I'm not super into these true crime series. My wife will drag me into them.
You kind of like them. I
like
them.
Some of them I'll get interested in, but I don't want to spend my time watching these things. Typically, I think they're a little depressing. So this story is about, in 1993, there was a brutal triple murder on a farm in the Emerald Triangle, deep in the one of the most famous cannabis producing areas in the world. And these three people were ripped limb from limb and found. And all the locals say that was Sasquatch. And I think it's a 3-part documentary series where this this journalist who is he was embedded with gangs and everything. He's like a hardcore, journalist guy. Basically goes and searches for Sasquatch through this true crime, angle. And it looks freaking awesome.
Totally looks awesome. Now, I mean, we've seen some like kind of Sasquatch documentary type things in the past, and they've all been pretty low quality. I have pretty high expectations for this one.
Yeah, it looks quality. Yeah,
looks like good quality. Award winner, right? South by Southwest 2021 Film Festival award winner. So yeah, I'm just really excited about it. Also, 420 this year's on a Tuesday. Tuesdays are typically my days off. So I have a feeling I'll be partaking in a good Sasquatch.
So this is also
adventure.
This is the Duplass brothers. You know who they are. You would recognize one of the actors if you saw him. One of the guys does mostly acting. The other guy's a producer. They did Wild Wild Country with that crazy cult up in Oregon, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I liked that one a lot.
But this trailer for this show looks amazing, and I had never heard of this story.
I haven't either, no.
And I've obviously, the north coasts of Northern California and even parts of like Siskiyou County and the Marble Mountains, home to Sasquatch. Like, this is the most Bigfoot sightings in the world. Is in this small area. It's, the Shasta Trinity National Forest, which is just miles and miles and miles of wilderness, where people can't even get to hardly. And so we've heard so many of these stories of Bigfoot, but I've never heard of anyone getting murdered by him.
And anytime you start a story ripped limb from limb, I mean, you got me. I'm on the hook there.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see, because obviously there's a lot of crime that goes with the cannabis farms, especially in the pre-legalization days, right? Like
Murder Mountain, right?
Murder Mountain. And like they never called the cops up there. They just took things into their own hands, and there were some wild cards that made it into that area, so people would get murdered, and then they'd take care of them within the community.
But usually they were shot. They weren't ripped limb from limb.
Right.
I mean, that's a wild animal injury. That's why their whole argument.
I'm interested because this is what the This is what is said. They were torn limb from limb. That's the exact words. Torn limb from limb. I think you'd be able to tell if someone's arm was torn off compared to cut off, right?
Totally.
Like, unless they were like, their hands were tied and like pulled by a Jeep or something. I don't know. But if it, in fact, it was proven that their arm was torn off their body, I'm a believer, 1,000%. You know what I mean? So that's fascinating. And I've just never heard any evidence of Bigfoot other than sightings and maybe some crude video. I've definitely never heard of like, oh, he left like a murder scene. I'm so excited for this. And I actually got a lot of people messaging me about this that are excited too. It's a 3-part series. I think it's going to go 3 weeks in a row.
That sucks.
So
I want them to be all at once.
Well, maybe it's not. Maybe, I don't know how Hulu does it. It could all be at once. You're right.
Netflix drops all at once. Disney Plus once a week. I don't know what Hulu is.
I don't either. I don't watch Hulu that much. But so either way, we will be back on here. If it's weekly, we'll do a recap of it on this podcast. If the whole thing, we might do a whole podcast.
We might live stream us watching it.
Yeah. Because I'm super excited for this. So, yeah. Evidence of Bigfoot in a true crime. I'm excited.
Can't wait. 420.
Yep.
Speaking of 420.
Oh, nice segue.
High Times looking for judges for the 2021 NorCal Cannabis Cup. Maybe Sasquatch could be a judge.
Did you sign up for this?
Not yet, but I will.
I did. So
how would you even... That's absurd.
Because I don't really consume cannabis. Although I'll take like little... Like, if I just want to chill out, I'll take, like, little nibbles.
You have one
edibles.
gummy before bed sometimes.
Not even a full gummy. Are you kidding me? Yeah, no way.
Whereas I feel like I'm more of a connoisseur.
So, High Times, they want to do their Cannabis Cup this year, but they can't do their big event. They do their big event every year where people, growers will submit their product for testing, and they have, like, legit judges who are, whatever, connoisseurs or big in the industry to judge it, and they have all these different categories where you can win the Cannabis Cup, and it's a big deal in the
it's been
world.
a big thing for 20 plus years.
Yes. So this year they can't have the main event, so they decided they want the people to judge the event. They're calling it People's Choice 2021, the Cannabis Cup NorCal, and here's what you do. So you go to cannabiscup.com/pre-register, and all you have to do is sign up your name and give them your email, and you pick which category you want to judge. And I picked edibles, food items, because that's the only thing I can take.
If you get selected, I just want to watch. No.
Okay, so let me finish. So then they tell you, they'll email you when it's available, and you just buy a kit. So it's their way. They're making money off me. Don't get me. You're still buying their weed, and so you buy whatever your category is, and then you fill out your judgment, and however you send it back to them, it's probably digitally. I'm excited though, and so you can sign up now. It's first come first serve. So if they fill up, you can't be a judge, and it kicks off in June, and everyone will try it. For the next, for a month or two, and then the trophies are announced in August. There's a ton of different categories. You can do all the different flowers from sativa to indica to hybrid, pre-rolls, vape pens, CBD, topicals. There's all sorts of things. So I thought this was a really good idea, and you will buy it from one of High Times 3 dispensaries in Northern California, one of which is in Redding, one of which is in Shasta Lake, and the other is in Oakland, I believe. So this is I'm gonna just chill out one night, have maybe a half an edible, and then judge it.
They should have teamed up with Hulu and had this on the same day. I know they're gonna be doing the announcement of the winners in August 29th at 4:20 Pacific time. So this is I think that my prediction is the 2021 Cannabis Cup, NorCal Cannabis Cup, is going to be the most popular because this is an incredibly good marketing.
Incredibly. Yes.
Because when you see the story, a substantial portion of the people that live in Northern California is like, ooh, I want to be a judge.
Yeah.
And when you find out that you just got to buy the stuff and give your input, it's just like, it's just straight up marketing. I mean, it's beautiful.
Especially because you have to buy it from one of their dispensaries. So they're just going to sell a ton of product.
It's probably going to be something that is so profitable for them that they're going to be like, well, do we really need to like do an in-person one moving forward? But
or maybe you just have, you have that be part of the judgment going forward. Even if there's in-person events, you send out, your kits a month in advance and have people fill out their ballots.
Memberships where
it's brilliant.
Quarterly, it's like a wine club. This is a High Times weed club.
But, and so they send you, I'm guessing, so say you what would you sign up for? Flower sativa?
No.
You like, okay, don't look at me like I'm stupid. What do you like, indica?
Yes, and hybrids. I lean indica hybrid. The other one, they have flower sun-grown, which is basically outdoor or greenhouse. I'm not generally as huge of a fan of those. But
so let's say you sign up for flower indica. Do they send you like 10 different?
That's a good question. I don't know.
That's what I'm guessing. And so me for edibles, like they would send me like a couple different gummies, some chocolate, whatever. I don't know. It's a fun little thing. What the hell? We're sitting at home anyway. We're stuck in quarantine. I wish they would have done this in 2020. I would have had fun being a judge, a couple nights a week, just like, hey, let me gummy it up.
I mean, I'm down. Yeah, no, the flower indica, flower hybrid, I'd be really, and the pre-rolls, I always love pre-rolls and vape pens. So I think
you can only choose one.
And the thing is that I'll bet you flower indica and flower hybrid are the most popular judging category. So those are probably going to go out quickly. I'll bet you sativa is probably going to be one of the lower ones. Hemp-derived CBD, probably not a very popular judging category.
Well,
topicals.
I think you're absolutely. I think a lot of people like CBD.
So how do you rate CBD?
That's a good question. I don't know.
It's ridiculous. Like
that's a good question.
I appreciate what CBD brings in the holistic, but there's not a lot of like tangible evidence of what CBD and how you can like rate CBD.
I used to take it before bed, and it would help me go to sleep. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have much use for it now. Like if I'm being honest, yeah. So which one are you picking? Because we're going to sign you up right after we get off this podcast.
If I had to pick one, it'd be flower hybrid. If I had to pick number two, it'd be
So flower hybrid, I'm sure, because it's super early. You have until like June. It's first come, first serve. But so we're signing you up because we're gonna talk about it after.
All right, fine.
On this podcast.
And you know what? High Times, if you're listening, I've smoked weed for over 20 years. I've smoked a lot of weed. I love it. And if you want me to be a judge and you want me to help you promote this, just reach out. I'm really easy to find.
Well, they did via activenorcal.com. Again, this is clearly just a marketing campaign.
I'll host the event.
It's a marketing campaign, but a brilliant one, and one that I'm in on. I'm fully in. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And it's also going to be interesting because these are local products, right?
Yeah.
So we get to be like, hey, hey, dude from Mendocino making this gummy, like, I support you. Like, that's going to be fun. I don't know.
Absolutely. It's exciting all around. I'm getting more and more excited now that you're going to force me to sign up as a host.
I am. As a judge.
Host,
you're not hosting the Cannabis Cup.
I'll host it. They probably don't have a host yet.
Well, they don't because they're not doing anything. They're not doing an event. Yeah, fun thing. Sign up. You can see this article on activenorcal.com or, again, cannabiscup.com/pre-register. It's super easy to do.
All right, I'll do it as soon as we're done here. And that does it for the NorCal News.
Okay, that does it. So now we have an awesome interview with Brandon Beck, skier, cliff jumper, overall fun guy. And let's go to our interview with Brandon. All right, we'd now like to welcome on a very special guest. He is a skier. He is a cliff jumper. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say he is a Tick Tock sensation. We got Brandon Beck on the line with us. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing really good today. How about you, Zach?
Doing well. Thanks for joining us. I wanted to start with TikTok because your TikTok page is awesome. Obviously, you have a really cool Instagram page as well. and just your social media is just you doing a ton of crazy stuff. It's a lot of fun to watch. What got you into TikTok, and basically what made you go so viral out there?
Pretty funny, actually. A friend of mine, Jay Briggs, he like posted in a group chat of ours that he had a TikTok video that went viral, and it was like blowing up. And so I was like, maybe I should download this TikTok app and post a video. So the very first video I posted was a video of me skiing across a lake up in the
Fountain of Youth.
Fountain of Youth. Yep, exactly. And that video, within 3 days, it got like 3 million views. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. And like within 3 days, I had more followers on TikTok from one video than I had on all of my Instagram and everything like that. I was like, oh, all right, this could be a cool platform. Maybe I should start using it more.
And you have you have kids, right? Are they showing you how to do it, kind of?
Oh yeah, I do. My daughter, she's always like showing me like new trends and what songs to use and different things like that. She's 13 years old, so
nice.
She knows the TikTok pretty well.
Nice. It's been fun to watch you on there. I mean, I've gone into it since quarantine, and it's a fun outlet, and it's been fun watching all the people sort of move over there and watch them grow. So you're in Tahoe, right?
I am. Yeah. I live in North Lake Tahoe.
North Lake Tahoe. How's ski season this year?
It was pretty good. I've had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I tore my ACL 2 days before Christmas, but I had a pretty quick recovery. I still have to get surgery. I'm going to get surgery at the end of May or early June. But my knee was actually healed up kind of like by itself pretty well, good enough to where I've been skiing like on all my off days and everything still. I'm not 100%, but I'm still out there having fun.
I've had a torn ACL for 7 years. It was the second time I tore it. There is life, with it. I wouldn't be doing the stuff that you do probably if I had my knee like this, but it's manageable if you can manage the pain,
Exactly. And I don't know, I have high hopes for my surgery, and then I'll be back to 100% myself by next winter.
Nice. You mostly ride Squaw, right?
Yeah, I ride Squaw and Alpine mostly. I'm a sponsored athlete for Squaw Valley, so they give me a pass, and then I go and do photos and video with them. But this year, because of my knee, I haven't been doing as much, but it's all right.
So outline, like, for people that have never been to Squaw, because we have a lot of people up north that are really Mount Shasta centric, and are people that go up to Bachelor. Explain what Squaw is, because it's kind of hard to explain the different terrains that you'll see there.
Yeah, so Squaw Valley is kind of like the mecca for extreme skiers in the West Coast, mostly because all the craziest terrain is all visible from the chairlifts. So, it's kind of like a big show, and anybody can see it. So, it's kind of fun to go up and, you go right up KT22, and like all the biggest, most famous cliffs are just right visible from the chairlift, and you can watch all the craziest skiers, or you can go and show off for all the people on the chairlift, which is kind of fun. And there's just so much terrain there. As far as everything goes, there's big mountain lines. They have a good terrain park, and they've got it all as far as the ski resort goes. And I actually grew up and went to high school in Fall River Mills, so I spent a lot of time skiing Mount Shasta myself, and I fell in love with that little mountain. And it was I haven't ridden there in a couple years, but I used to really enjoy going there when I was in high school.
Yeah, I just went recently, and I go very rarely to Mount Shasta. It actually has some fun terrain. I mean, obviously, it's not like Sierra or Squaw, with the terrain, but for its location, it's still a lot of fun. You remember the patch?
Absolutely.
You remember the patches?
The pumpkin patch?
The pumpkin patch, yeah. So I actually went there. I went there, and there's trees everywhere. All the trees grew, so you can't ride there anymore. I was bummed. I did that little trek through the trees, and then you get there and there's nothing there. So it was
bummer, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, but I remember like growing up, that's where like we would all try our tricks, right? Like we would try our flips and it was just powder. So Those were the fun days.
Yeah, I know. We built a big jump out there my senior year in the pumpkin patch, and it's kind of like this jump over a road, and that was like the biggest jump me or any of my friends had like really hit at the time. And I learned how to do double backflips there, like cork sevens, a bunch of different things, all of Mount Shasta.
So did you sort of find your like extreme sports roots, I guess, like on Mount Shasta? Like, how did you get into like just doing crazy shit?
Okay, so I think a lot of that stems from my father, because he was a professional extreme skier and also a really crazy cliff jumper for his time. And so, you know, most of the places that I go to, like McLeod Falls or Emerald Pools, my dad showed me all these spots when I was a little kid, and I watched him jump off all those things. So it's kind of like, oh, I gotta be like my dad, you know?
So you're now passing that on to your kids, I think, right?
Absolutely. You know, it doesn't seem like maybe the smartest thing to teach your kids how to do kind of a dangerous extreme stuff, but you know, they're going to do it anyways. So you might as well teach them how to do it safe in the right way.
Right. And that's gotta be fun. Like kind of going through the same path that your father went through and watching, you know, you progress and then you watching your kids progress. That's gotta be a blast to watch.
It's honestly pretty nerve wracking.
Yeah, I bet. You get more nervous with your kids than you get doing it yourself.
100%, man. Every time I watch like my son or my daughter ski, I'm always like, oh God, I hope they make it. And then like I tell my dad about like how I get nervous, and he just starts laughing. He's like, it's your turn.
Yeah. So let's get to the cliff jumping, because that's sort of, you know, I think that's some of your like most electric content. It's you know, you were in the Flow State documentary about cliff jumpers around Northern California and kind of around the West Coast in general. And there was a quote that I forget who said it, but someone said Brandon Beck is the nuttiest guy there is. And everyone was talking about how you go first and how you don't care if the camera's on, you just send it. What is your mind frame like going for these jumps?
Well, I'm out there to have a good time, and you know what? The reason I got into cliff jumping was because it's so fun, and it's just a quick little shot of adrenaline, and I really enjoy that sensation.
So, and you know, we have to get to a couple of your iconic jumps here. So, Burney Falls. And tell me about that experience, because obviously that's, you know, for anyone listening, it should be attempted by professionals only. Like, people die trying it, right? It's a huge jump you have to jump far down and you have to jump far out in order to make it. What led to you actually jumping Burney Falls, and what was that experience like?
Okay, so there's kind of a funny backstory to this. So as a kid, my dad built our house up in Fall River, and we'd always go to Burney Falls and hang out there and check it out. I know my dad used to love to make up like funny stories, kind of to like, you know, get our minds' imagination going crazy. And so he told us, me and my brothers, when we were little kids, that the Native Americans that live near Burney Falls, their passageway to manhood was to jump off the waterfall, even though that's not true.
Right.
And so like I always thought that as a little kid. I was like, oh man, someday I'll become a man and jump off Burney Falls. And so basically what led to me jumping off that waterfall is I dreamt about it pretty much my whole life. And a friend of mine, Nick Coulter, had jumped off of the waterfall before. And he was, to what we know, he was probably the first person ever to jump it, at least the first person ever to jump it and be videotaped.
Right.
And so all of Nick Coulter and the whole cliff jumping crew, like Robert Wall and all those guys, were up in Canada, and I couldn't afford to go on that trip because like I had my kids and just different things, and I just couldn't make the trip happen. So I was extremely jealous and envious while they were all there, and I was like, man, what can I do to make this FOMO go away? And for anyone that doesn't know, FOMO is like an acronym for fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out, yeah.
And so I had major FOMO. And so I was like, I called up one of my buddies, this guy, Scott Pullman, and I was like, hey, dude, do you want to go jump off Burney Falls with me? And he just kind of started laughing and was like, Sure, I guess. Like, so the next day I drove to his house and picked him up, and the two of us drove up to Burney Falls, and a friend of ours, Travis Sims, he'd actually got denied to get into to Canada. He didn't get let in because of some weird criminal charge or something he had.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't let him into the country. So he had heard wind that me and Scott were going to go jump it. So he was at the border of Canada and then just drove all the way from the border of Canada all the way down to Burney Falls to meet us there. So we waited for him to show up, and once he showed up, we were looking at it, and it's actually very illegal to do, because you're not even allowed to stand up on the top of the waterfall. And so the park rangers kind of, I don't know, they must have caught wind that we had planned on jumping the waterfall, because they just started storming the place. I mean, there was park rangers everywhere the first day we got there, and we're like, shoot, we're not going to be able to do this. We'll get arrested or, fined before we even get the chance. So we went to a friend of mine's house in Fall River Mills and stayed the night, and we woke up the next day and went back to the waterfall. And the three of us, we got our swimsuits on, and we were walking up to the top, and there was a ranger in his truck parked like right near the top, and they followed us as we were walking down the trail to go to the top, and they like gave us the signal. They were like, "We're looking at you," and so we walked down the trail a little bit farther, and we were all bummed. We were like, "Man, we're not going to get to jump it. Like, we're going to get busted." And so we just kind of hung out for like a half hour, and we were all kind of depressed. And I went down to the bottom of the waterfall to see my little sister, Karina, who was there, and tell her that we were probably not going to do it. And right as I'm down there, like hanging out with my sister, my buddy Scott comes running down the trail, and he goes, "Brandon, we didn't drive 4 hours up here to drive home 4 hours pissed off. It's like, let's go jump this thing." So it's like, all right. So we ran up to the top of the trail, and our buddy Travis was like following us. He's like, "Hey, stop running, guys." And we're like, "No, dude, we got to do this now." So we get to the top, and we sneak down the creek, and we're like, okay, we're good to go. There's no rangers. And I was standing on the top, and I threw a rock off to kind of like judge the timing and see how much hang time there was. And as soon as I threw the rock, it got the attention of like everybody that was down at the bottom of the waterfall. And so I knew I didn't have much time, and it was crazy because when I threw the rock, I couldn't even see it land. There's a big ledge, and you can't see where you're going to land from the top. So it's a blind jump from 130 feet. And I had kind of like thought about taking my time and being like, all right, I want to really scope this out and make sure it's good to go. And as soon as I threw the rock, I took a step back to kind of take like a practice, like run up. And my buddy just gave me fist bump, and he's all, "You got this, dude." And so I just gave the signal that I was going to jump. And I literally ran and jumped off for my life, because I know how far you have to jump out. There's a big gap. So if you don't jump out really far, you'll actually hit the rocks at the bottom, and there's no way you're going to make it out of that. And when I dove out, I did a double front flip with a half twist, and I'm about 100% certain that I am the very first person ever to do a flip off of Burney Falls.
Yes.
And and when I landed it, I actually I almost got knocked out. The impact was so heavy that I was seeing stars and was like a little dizzy. And I actually went to yell to the top to tell my friend not to jump, because I landed so close to the wall at the bottom. But I had the wind knocked out of me, and I couldn't yell. I was like, "Don't jump!" And then I just looked up, and I watched my buddy jump, and he barely cleared it. He cleared the rocks at the bottom by maybe 2 feet at the most. And then we had one more buddy at the top who was going to do it. That's Travis Sims, and he has a more of a professional high diver background.
Yeah.
So he is like high diver oriented tricks, and he doesn't necessarily his practice is jumping off of platforms. So you don't have to jump out as far. And he came the closest out of all of us when he dove out, and he also did a double front flip with a half twist, but he got so close to the rocks at the bottom, and but didn't hit him. And all three of us luckily were able to make it out of there. And when we got out of the water, I knew the Rangers were coming. So I threw on my street clothes that I had at the bottom, and really quick, just over the top of my bathing suit. And me and my little sister started like walking out, like pretending like we were like kind of like boyfriend, girlfriend a little bit. and the Rangers went running right by me. Didn't even question me. And I was like, I wasn't trying to break the law or be a criminal by any means. I was just kind of trying to fulfill a childhood dream that I had to accomplish this big feat, because it was a really big feat, and I will never ever do that again. It was a heavy impact. I was really scared in the air because I was looking at the rocks as I was free falling, and I didn't think I was going to make it there for a second. And I've actually people have asked me about the jump, and asked me what I thought about if they jumped in. I was like, honestly, I would never do it again, and I wouldn't recommend that anybody else does it again. Even I know there's going to be somebody in the future that's going to step up and do it, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Not even the best professional in the world. I would say not a good idea.
Yeah, and that's why there's sort of a lot of blowback with it. And when Nick jumped it, and then when you guys jumped it, because in between there was actually a guy who tried to jump it and died, right? And
yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, and so you understand why the park rangers are doing that, right? Why they're trying not to let people put themselves in danger. But at the same time, it's a personal freedom, right? To try these different things. I mean, that's obviously something that you kind of live for. So what would you say to, the people who say cliff jumping is dangerous and putting it online and glorifying it is just causing more injuries in the future?
Well, cliff jumping is dangerous. It's maybe one of the most dangerous sports that there is, but with training and practice, there comes a level of expertise that makes it safe for certain people. Like the drunk guy at the cliff jumping spot who's just getting wasted and sending it is the most likely to get hurt. Mm-hmm. We all go out there with very serious attitudes. We take it like very seriously, just like any professional athlete would. Like a professional football player doesn't go and get drunk before his game. You know what I mean? He wants to be 100% focused, and that's kind of how me and my friends treat the whole cliff jumping thing. We want to be safe because we don't want to see anybody get hurt when we're out there. I've had to save two for sure. I've had to save two people's lives that just had mishaps. They flopped and then knocked themselves out and were drowning, and I had to jump in and save them. And one of them was actually my friend, and that was a big eye-opening experience for me because I didn't ever want to be that guy. The last thing I ever want to do is get knocked out or hurt or have somebody have to risk their life to come save me, because that's not the whole point of it. The whole point is being able to pull this stunt off without getting hurt.
And what kind of precautions do you guys take? I know, like, you usually have someone waiting in the water. What do you guys specifically do? You do depth checks, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. So we, no matter what, even if we've been to a jump spot like 100 times, we still get our mask and snorkel, and we jump in the water and we go and see if there's any new obstacles, because things change. Sometimes logs get swept down rivers and they get pinned underneath waterfalls, and you wouldn't know it was there unless you went and checked. So the first thing that we do is we go and check and make sure that the pool is nice and deep and there's no obstacles. And if that's the case, then we start looking at the other dangers, you know what I mean? Whether or not the takeoff is slippery, or, like, we usually don't like to try new tricks when we're jumping off these things, but there comes sometimes you get, maybe, I don't know what the word I'm looking for right now, but if you get you get overconfident in yourself and you're like, okay, I've nailed all these other tricks, I should try this new one. And then you try something new and then you'll eat it. And it's not a fun thing, but in order to get good at this stuff, you got to take a couple slams to kind of figure it all out. Like I gotta sit in my truck. It's really cold outside. It's like
all
snowing.
Good, man. All good. I can actually think of one time. I know you didn't depth check, and that was at Lower McLeod Falls.
That's true.
And I know this because Bob and I were at Lower McLeod Falls, and we see this sign that says "Don't jump," and we're like, "What the hell is this?" This is like it that little rock that you jump off of at Lower McLeod Falls is like the most benign jump ever, right? Like it's usually super safe. And it turns out you were the one that put the sign there because a rock had fallen into the water and almost impaled you.
Yep, absolutely. And I had actually, it was really scary because like it was me and Robert Wall and Nick Coulter. I'm trying to think. I think Alex Shirley was there too. But you know, we all got across the creek and we went up to the top of the jump spot, and we all had planned on doing sailor dives, which are you do a head first dive, but your hands are at your side. And last minute, I changed my mind. I was like, oh, I'll just do a gainer. So I run and do a gainer. And when I hit the water, I bumped the rock with my leg just because I jumped out really far. And it like hit my leg pretty hard, and it gave me a Charlie horse. And as soon as I came up out of the water, I was immediately yelled to my friends, like, don't jump. And then we started looking, and you could see where the big giant boulder had fallen off of the wall from, you know, all the erosion, and right into the middle of where you would want to jump. And that is definitely one of like the most iconic little small cliff jumps in Northern California. Like families go there. Like I went there as a little kid and jumped off that rock 100 times in a day. You know what I mean? And just the thought of somebody hitting that rock just terrified me. And I actually saw a ranger that day, and he gave me the yellow sign. He didn't want to put one up, so he gave me the sign, and I got a Sharpie and, you know, wrote like, don't hurt yourself, basically. And unfortunately, I heard about several people that still ended up jumping off of that and getting hurt that summer.
Yeah. And that was big news. I mean, because you're right, that is such a popular, like, little spot, like, for kids and for people who just don't, you know, jump off cliffs. I think they've moved it since, and I've been there, and I couldn't tell if it were there. I think they actually went in and moved it. I'm not entirely sure.
That would be awesome if they did, because that rock was about the size of like a Volkswagen Bug.
Wow. Yeah. So speaking of McLeod Falls, Middle McLeod Falls, obviously an iconic cliff jumping destination in Northern California. It's a little over 70 feet, I believe, from the top all the way to the bottom. When was the first time you jumped off that top part? And what is that like? I've never jumped from that top area right there.
So I think the first time I jumped off that top part, I was about 16 years old, maybe 17. And, you know, we went there. My dad brought us to all these cool spots, and it's close to Fall River. So we would go there all the time in the summer just kind of get away from town for a little bit, go do something new. And I did straight jumps off of the top. You know, I probably jumped off the top of that thing maybe 50 times. And it was weird because I stopped getting an adrenaline rush, like jumping off of it. And it was my senior year. And it was like me and one friend, and we brought a bunch of girls to the McLeod Falls because we wanted to like show off for them and stuff like that and have a good day. And I told my dad what we were doing. And so, you know, he just showed up randomly with like my little brothers and sisters. And I was all kind of pissed off. I'm like, Dad, like I was trying to get away from you guys. And he was just like laughing. He's like, I came to take pictures of you guys because my dad's a really good photographer. So I had been planning in my head, I didn't tell anybody, but I had been planning on my head that I was going to flip off of the top. And that was huge at the time. I mean, this was 2003. And so it was a long time ago, and nobody was really doing that kind of stuff, flipping off that big stuff, except for like professional high divers and, you know what I mean? Things like that. And I'd never heard of anybody flipping off the top. So I figured I'd give it a go. And I was kind of hesitating at the top because I was nervous. And my dad was down at the bottom with his camera. And what did he say? He's like, he's down at the bottom and he's waiting to take the picture. And he's like, just jump already. Don't be scared. And so I just kind of took a step back and ran and did a big front flip 180. And I just dove off. And that feeling brought back all the adrenaline that I needed, because like it wasn't scary for me just to do the straight jumps anymore. So I had to kind of mix it up a little bit and to make it fun, you know? So that was the first time I ever flipped off McLeod was 2003, my senior year. And it was a pretty fun day.
And you guys,
I still actually have a photo.
Oh, do you? Nice.
Yeah.
You guys return there quite often, and some of those shows are pretty amazing with all you guys together sort of trying to one-up each other.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's we're all kind of trying to one-up each other, and we inspire each other at the same time, you know, like it's really fun. It's kind of like a brotherhood camaraderie type thing when we're all out there, and you know, we're all supportive of each other. And you know, like, you know, you had mentioned earlier about our safety things, like having somebody in the water. We didn't necessarily start doing that when we were first getting into cliff jumping. We didn't really know the dangers of getting knocked out and then sinking to the bottom. And after we'd actually seen it in person and had to save some people getting knocked out, then we started, you know, having a safety swimmer. And so we kind of take turns being the guy at the bottom that's there in case you get hurt. And that way, you know, someone could swim in and pull you up, because, you know, when you get knocked out, you actually sink straight to the bottom, which is kind of scary.
Yeah.
You don't float every time, you know, sometimes and it actually has a lot to do with whether you're face up or face down in the water. If you're face down, you'll float up, but if you're face up, you'll sink to the bottom.
Interesting. Yeah. I think the fact that you guys have sort of teamed up and not only you look out for each other's safety, but you also have this one-upsmanship. It's kind of, it seems to me like the super early stages of a sport, right? Like at some point, someone hopped on like a board and went down the ski slope. And then as it gets, you know, as more people do it and people start, you know, riding together, that's when it kind of becomes a sport, you know? And so that's been really fun to watch you guys in your progression. And you all have different styles, which is really cool. So it's really fun to see that, especially on these different, you know, iconic destinations in NorCal. I wanted to ask you about one last thing, and that is the rope swing in Tahoe. The 100-foot rope swing.
The 100-footer, yeah.
The 100-footer. Because that was obviously insane and very, very dangerous as well. Tell me about that rope swing, how it came to be, and what it was like flying off of it.
Okay, so Mike Wilson actually was the original creator of this rope swing. He is a professional skier, professional adrenaline junkie, wild man, period. Like he might be one of the craziest people that's ever lived, but he has this eye for, you know, finding cool things to do in weird places that nobody would ever think of. And he saw that spot on Lake Tahoe and he's like, oh, I could build a rope swing there. So he did. And he made a video back in, I think it was like 2009, and it went super viral. And I remember watching that video when it first came out, and I was just thinking, I was like, I could do that. And so I'd had that in the back of my head for a long time, and then I started hanging out with all the cliff jumper guys, and we had been talking about it, like, you know, we should recreate that rope swing and set it up ourselves, because, you know, it's actually on state park property, so
right.
you're not allowed to jump off rocks or do anything fun. So, you know, you kind of have to just go and set it up and take it down. So we went and bought all the materials to build it, and we set the whole rope swing up. It actually took us about a week to set it up, because we had to make sure all the anchors were strong. We had to figure out how long to make the line, where exactly to set it up. And we had actually been in contact with Mike Wilson, and he helped us with the whole figuring it all out and getting it done right. And so once we got it all set up, what we were doing is we were swinging. We tied a backpack with a bunch of rocks in it, and we started sending that off to like look at the trajectory of the swing to make sure we didn't hit the rocks at the bottom, because you have to land in a cove.
Right.
So if you're, you know, 10 feet to the left or 10 feet to the right, you're going to land on rocks and definitely die. So, you know, we just wanted to make sure that trajectory was right. And it was me, Nick Coulter, and Chase Reinford, who is Adrenaline Addiction on like Instagram and YouTube. He's a pretty famous guy on the extreme world.
He's got a huge following. That guy is nuts.
Yeah, he is nuts, but he's also a really cool guy. He's an awesome person. I love that guy. But so we were all three of us were standing at the top after it was set up, and we're kind of looking at each other like, who's going to go first? And we kept taking turns standing on the platform and like holding the rope and being like, man, this is freaking scary, because you have to hold onto the rope and you swing over about, 75 feet of rocks before you like make it to that open spot where you can let go of the rope. And, if you can't hold on, for one, you're not going to make it. You'll just hit the rocks at the bottom. Or, another thing is we were worried about like dragging our feet on the bushes and rocks and stuff like that as well, because you have to jump out of a tree and then swing over all the bushes and rocks. And we were all negotiating on who was going to go first. And then like, it was my turn to stand up on the platform, just kind of look at it and assess the situation. And as soon as I got up there, it's like my heart started beating like uncontrollably. And I got that like that pre-adrenaline like pump where it's like, I think it's fear. And, but if you can overcome that fear, then you can really use that, like how scared you are as focus. And so you can really focus on things and make it work for you. So I stood up there and I took my sunglasses off and handed them to somebody. And we had a bunch of people there. There's tons of filmers and photographers and friends. And I just gave a yell. I was like, who's ready for a rope swing? And everybody started cheering. And so I like gave the countdown and I jumped off. And when I held on going through the bottom of that pole, there was so much G-forces holding onto that like rope. I almost didn't make it. And as soon as I got to the spot, I was like, where I knew I was over the water, I let go. And I actually didn't plan on doing a backflip. I had planned on doing a double or a triple. I let go of the rope. I had the momentum for a single. So I just laid it out and enjoyed the ride. And when I hit the water, I was actually really close to the rocks on the right-hand side. And so, everybody was stoked. I made it. It was all good. But as soon as we got up to the top, we had to readjust the rope to make sure, that we were going to swing out and land in the center after that. And so
you were the first person to do it. You, other than Mike Wilson, You were the first. Wow. Yeah. Living up to your reputation.
It's kind of funny. I promised my dad that I wouldn't be the first person to go off of that, but nobody was doing it. And like, I can only stand around and wait for so long. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd rather just get it done instead of like letting the fear build up. And then you can get unfocused if you hesitate for too long.
Right. And that went huge. I mean, that was picked up by national media outlets. That was a big deal when it happened, I remember. And you guys do some sort of form of that nearby every year, right? Maybe not as big.
Yeah, there's just about 100 feet away from that, maybe 200 feet away from that location. There's another rope swing that's set up, and it's set up all year round. Like, there's a rope tied out of this huge tree, and I don't know who set that one up, but whoever did was a badass climber, because there's no way I'd want to climb up in that tree and tie the rope where somebody did. But it's been there for a long time, and it's actually like, it's almost getting to the point where it's kind of sketchy, because that same rope has been in that tree for at least 10 years. So it's like, with all the heavy winters, the freezing, the de-thawing, like that rope's gotta be changed sometime soon, because I mean, a rope can only last for so long. But that's a fun one though. You can do triple backflips off of it. Robert Wall did a quad off of that rope swing. So that just can give you an idea of how big it is. When you let go of the rope off of the smaller one, you're about 40 feet in the air. And when you let go of the rope on the bigger one, you're about 80 to 90 feet in the air.
Wow. That's crazy. Higher than the middle McLeod Falls jump.
Yep. Higher than the middle McLeod Falls jump.
Wow. That's crazy. So last thing I want to know, you went from, Fall River Mills, and I'm not sure what you did in between, but you ended up in Tahoe. Why do you live in Tahoe? Why did you choose Tahoe? Is it skiing? Is it the lake? What about it makes you want to live there?
So I was born in Tahoe, and I lived here until I was in the 8th grade. And then in the 8th grade, I moved to Fall River because my dad built a house up there. And I was actually super bummed at the time because I didn't want to leave Lake Tahoe. But as soon as I got to Fall River, it was like a whole new life and adventure that I didn't even imagine. I met some of the best friends I could have ever had. But I'd always wanted to go back. You know what I mean? And I actually, after I graduated high school, I moved back to Tahoe for like 6 months and got into a bunch of like trouble and stupid things. And I was like, all right, maybe I shouldn't live in Tahoe right now. So I moved back up to Redding, and I got a good job, and I worked up in Redding for like about 10 years. And then I got a new girlfriend, and she wanted to get out of Redding. And so I was like, well, let's move to Lake Tahoe together. And we did. And, you know, we've been here for the last 6 years now, and I love this place, man. It's a great place to raise kids, and there's all kinds of adventure. There's summertime adventure. There's wintertime adventure. If you're bored in Lake Tahoe, you're doing something wrong.
Right. Yeah. I just love the different seasons and all that, you know, you just sort of change your activities based on, you know, the season it is. It's like, okay, it's ski time, dust off, you know, your skis and let's go. Or it's summertime, bust out those board shorts, let's go to the beach, you know. Yeah, Tahoe's amazing. Well, Brandon, thanks for coming on, man. This was awesome. I seriously, I love what you do. I love the content you put out. We didn't even talk about the Fountain of Youth. We'll have to have you come back on and talk about it. I know you can't divulge the location. It's a super secret location, but just the stuff you guys are doing is awesome. Where can people follow you and watch all your cool videos?
So my Instagram is Mountain Beck, and my TikTok is Mountain Beck as well. And that's the easiest place to find me.
Follow Mountain Beck, everyone, on Instagram and TikTok. You got some great content. Brandon, thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
No problem, Zach. Thanks for having me.
All right, see ya. All right, thanks to Brandon Beck for coming on. That was a super fun interview. That guy is awesome, and like he's like totally all there and smart and like knows what he's doing, but he's also like crazy too. That's what I love about him.
Yeah, he knows that if he really thinks too much about it, he might not. So he always just sends it.
Yeah, but you know, and with these guys, like they do take a lot of risks, but they also try to mitigate those risks as best they can, and that's what differentiates them from just the random person who likes jumping off cliffs to the professionals. And like these guys, like we had Nick Coulter on, you know, Robert Wall.
We're gonna have the entire group.
Yeah, we'll have the entire crew on. They all have like sponsorships, and you know, Brandon is a sponsored skier, and so this is the difference between you guys, like a lot of you people out there just doing it recreationally versus the pros. They really take it seriously, and so thanks to Brandon. That was a fun interview. Okay, that does it for this week. We're back from our hiatus. We'll be doing this every single week, midweek, hoping to come out every Thursday is our goal. Next week, you know, we'll probably be doing this over Zoom, but we're hoping to be in the new studio soon. So look forward to that. Again, you can watch these full episodes on YouTube. Just type in Talking NorCal, follow us there. All of the highlight videos are on Instagram, at Talking NorCal. Why not just follow Active NorCal too on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're everywhere. Thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate it. And remember, stay active.
NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and I could spend all day just chilling in the South Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and Darren knows how to kick it down in Santa Cruz. Or NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little cray-cray when we visit the East Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal.